Just give me a few minutes to post it to Facebook. Okay, we're going live, everyone. I know, so Joanne just hopped on. Hi, Joanne, just hang on. We're going live. I just want to make sure that we're streaming correctly. I just let Joanne in. Joanne, just hang on. We're going. Okay. Okay. So Ralph had a family emergency, he just told me. So hi, Joanne.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. We're streaming live now, so I'm gonna begin the show, and then of course we're gonna chat the way we always do. And I'm just waiting. Oh, Kathy, that was Kathy, not Ralph. Kathy had a family emergency. Okay, no problem. That's why we do the show live. Welcome to RenéMarie Stroke of Luck. I'm RenéMarie, and this show is really just a chatting kind of conversation to shoot the breeze, like Michael just said, with when he had his luncheon, his stroke luncheon a while this month. And it really isn't I really just wanted an easy show to talk about our friends and family, and all the family members are here today. We're just waiting from Ralph. Kathy, my dear friend, and really her husband, Bobby Baby Walker, who had, I think, 4 or 5 strokes. I can't even keep count now. Was really what she would call my singing husband. We had a great time performing together. I just spoke to him on the phone yesterday. So hi, Kathy. Hi, Bobby. Hope you're doing well, Kathy, with your family emergency. We're waiting to hear from Ralph. But we have a lot of conversation to go on, and I'm going to let all my dear friends chat. There's Michael from, I believe, Foundation at the top, Michael, Dr. Mike at the bottom there, and Joanne, who does Don't Count Me Out podcast. I know Michael and Joanne also suffered strokes. So did Ralph. That's why we really wanted to have a conversation. And of course, we always are so honored to have Dr. Mike with us, because his cutting edge, I think that's the word, knowledge and way of thinking, and just he knows, has all advanced. And I like Dr. Mike for a lot of reasons, because he's a dear friend, but I like his thought patterns because they're different. He brings in a different view to us, and that's important in life. You just, sometimes you can't go down that main road, which I've never gone down the main road. I've listened to it, but I always kind of do my own thing. So I'm going to let everybody on the panel talk a little bit and really introduce themselves, because they can do better than me. So I'm going to let Joanne, because she's the lady on the lady guest today, introduce herself. And Joanne and I actually have started a work session, like when we have a chance. We'll get back into that regularly, but she's keeping me in gear with my book. So I'm really very happy and honored to really call Joanne a dear friend as well, like Michael and Dr. Mike. So Joanne, take it away and share with us. And we actually, today's show It's called We Are Family because we're, of course, we're family. A circle of hope because we all bring hope to everybody. But I really had two questions for everybody on the panel, and Dr. Mike can feed into this. Is, what positive thing came from your stroke, which part of that is that we're still here and we're able to bring hope to others. And what challenges did you face when you had your stroke? So, Joanne, take it away and introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, how is everybody? I'm so
We're good.
happy. I'm so happy to be here with all of you, and thank you for inviting me to come.
Oh my gosh, when you're part of the family, I invited all our family.
I feel that way. In fact, when I was setting up, I was, kind of fumbling with everything, trying to get it all set up. And I almost felt like I was just opening the front door and felt like going, "Hi, everybody."
That's good. That's good. So share with our audience in case there's somebody new out there. What a brief history on your stroke and what you're doing now.
Well, my name is Joanne Glenn. I had a stroke 30 years ago.
Wow.
It was a hemorrhagic. It left me with no doubt that I was in a lot of trouble. And because I was totally paralyzed on one side, on my right side, couldn't walk, couldn't talk, couldn't see straight. It happened when I was working at Tropicana. My husband and I had just moved to Florida about 6 months before, and I had worked for Kelly Services up in the Illinois area for a long time, for 16 years. Had worked myself into a position where I not only took assignments, but I had been invited by Kelly Services to work in management with them. And I had been assigned to a long-term, years type of assignment at Baxter Healthcare, and loved it, and loved every minute of it. But when we retired, we were just gonna retire and enjoy everything. But I really enjoyed working with people and being in a management responsibility. So I had taken a one-day assignment over at Tropicana in their marketing department, and I was doing really well and happy to be there and everything. Well, at noon, one of the gentlemen I worked for, his secretary had forgotten to order lunches, and he had a major meeting with about 16 people. And so I just told him, I said, "Don't worry about it. I'll go pick the lunches up for you," which I did. But when I went over there to pick them up, and I went up to pay for it, when I tried to say, "How much do I owe you?" it came out sounding like Russian. And I felt really bad by, talking to the person because he happened to be Asian. And when he looked at me, he had looked like I was trying to make fun of him.
Oh.
And I felt really bad about it. So I didn't say anymore. I just took the credit card and handed it to
What
him.
I think is pretty amazing is that you were aware of the way you were talking, because I wasn't aware of what I was saying or doing when I had my stroke. So that's pretty impressive that you had that knowledge. You had that.
Yeah.
Michael, were you aware of your consciousness of how you were acting when you had your stroke?
Mine kind of came on just immediately. I didn't have any warning signs. Um, I was real lucky. My wife called the EMS and they arrived really within probably 10 minutes, and I'm at the hospital in 10 minutes.
Wow.
They felt that the only thing that really saved me was how close we were to the hospital, and how quickly they got me there. Same thing, I had a hemorrhagic stroke, the same as Joyce, but I had a brain bleed that was very, very close to the brain stem, and so they couldn't operate. And all we could, I never really understood how serious trouble I was in. They didn't think I was going to survive. And luckily, on day 2, the bleeding stopped. So I was very, very fortunate, and I thank God every day.
Yeah, well, that's what Dr. Mike can feed into this. That what's the statistics for people that do survive blood bleeds, brain bleeds? Dr. Mike, would you have any general? Because I know 80% of strokes can be prevented because they're not blood, they're can be prevented. The other 20%, I mean, and when you have a brain bleed, that's pretty serious stuff. I mean, I know a stroke is serious as well, but there are things that they could do to reverse it as well with the clot buster. Am I correct in my thought
Well, the
pattern?
clot buster for an occlusive stroke, we have a clot, but if a
Yeah.
hemorrhagic stroke is there, you can't use a clot
Yes.
buster because that's not going to work.
Right. Yeah. So would you, are you looking it up now? That's
I'm
good.
looking it up now, yeah, because
Perfect.
It's
I
about
always throw questions. So Dr. Mike's gonna find that out. But Joanne, so continue your conversation. You were talking to the gentleman and then you walked away. And then what happened?
Well, what I did was I realized as I tried to walk, my legs kind of felt weak, but I knew I had to get back to the office because I had all these people I had to feed. And so I started to walk out. I took a couple of sandwiches with me, or the boxes with the sandwiches in them. And I opened the trunk, and the people that worked at the store came and brought the rest of them out. Now, I've always been one that if there's something that's going on and there's an emergency involved, I've been one of those people that thinks, okay, plan A, plan B, plan C. And when I looked at my car, I realized I had maybe about 8 blocks to drive to get there. It wasn't far. And I felt pretty good to do it. Now, by this time, my hand on my arm had started to lose any feeling, and it was just hanging by my side. So I knew from that it definitely was the stroke. But as far as thinking goes, I was still able to put thoughts together and figure things out. So I
Wow.
got in the car and I drove over to the office, which is a very large complex, and I parked out in front, walked in there, and as I was walking in there, I tried to say something inside, and by that time my mouth was gone. But I called my husband, and he answered the phone, and I tried to say in some way, meet me at the hospital, I'm sick. And people helped and brought the sandwiches in. And I thought, it was on the second floor. And I thought, there'd be people that can come down and get it themselves. I'm not walking.
Thank God.
I turned around and I was going to ask the girl to call for an ambulance, but people were coming in from lunch. And whenever something like this happens and you collapse on a chair and they get everybody in there, you end up with a crowd around you. And
Yeah.
I hate that scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
I looked out in front and realized my car was still going. And it was only 2 blocks to the hospital. So I decided to drive myself.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
I
It's
know.
dangerous.
I
It's
know.
dangerous.
But
But you know what? I think that when you're having a stroke and I mean, this is an obvious answer that you're not yourself. So you're like, I'm
Absolutely.
fine. I'll just try myself. You weren't aware of the danger that it could have been to other people. So we want to let everybody know, if you're not feeling well, please call 911 and have the ambulance assess you so that
Thank you.
before you make any moves.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, because that was exactly what I was gonna say at the end.
Yeah,
Because you do learn. I'm so used to having to make decisions on the spur of the moment. And so this was just another situation where that's what I was going to do. And I did. I got over there fine, parked the car. There wasn't any place to park in the emergency area except where they park ambulances. And so I thought, well, I'm parking there. And that's exactly what I did. And so the security guy came over on his little golf cart, and he said, "Lady, you can't park there." And I looked at him, and I actually was able to say, "I think I'm having a stroke." Well, by
wow,
that time I had gotten myself out of the car, but I was having a hard time standing straight. So I just kind of bent up against the car. Well, by this time my shoulders sloping, my arms hanging.
wow,
I saw
wow,
myself in the mirror, and I could see that my lip was beginning to kind of droop over to the side and stuff. And he looked at me kind of with shock, and he got a bit of a smile. He said, "Okay, lady, don't worry about your car. Just keep an eye on it." And off he went. And I thought, you could have helped me to the
oh my God, that's terrible that he didn't even think to. You're at the hospital, like, get
yeah,
a wheelchair, like,
exactly.
call 911, call the hospital.
Or put your arm under mine and help me up there. I only
Oh,
weigh 95 pounds. A 10-year-old could carry me.
oh my gosh, oh my gosh. Hold on to that thought, Joanne. Dr. Mike, do you have
Yes, the overall 30-day mortality rate is roughly 35 to 52%. So it's around half people that have hemorrhagic stroke will pass away within the first 30 days.
wow,
And the cumulative 1-year survival rate is 34 to 49%, which isn't much lower. So if you survive the first month, you have a good chance of surviving a year. And if you survive a year, there's a good chance you could survive 5 years, because that's 24 to 38%.
wow.
So the biggest, problem is the first 30 days, but I'm going to try to find how many people, um, you know, survived the first day. I'll try to find that too.
Yeah, it's so Michael, after they stopped your bleeding, what happened then? What happened after that?
I was in intensive care for, I guess, 10 days. Then after that, they moved me to rehab. I was kind of like Joanne. I couldn't talk really. My whole right side was paralyzed, and I
Hmm.
started rehabbing, and you know the process.
Yeah,
It takes a
yeah. It's
while.
funny. It's odd that all three of us, it's our right side.
Yeah,
It's my right side. It's your right side. It's Joanne's right side.
it
How
was.
long you were in rehab for, Michael?
Well, I was in rehab for nearly 40 days in the hospital, and then I moved to outpatient. But I really didn't learn to start walking again for almost 18 months.
Mm.
And it was because I got to the right rehab facility.
Yeah, we spoke about that you
Yeah,
really love your rehab.
as you know, they're not all created equal.
Yep, we've
And,
had that conversation on the show
yeah,
before.
yeah. So once I got to the right one, and their positivity and how they worked with you was completely different. And luckily, in 6 months, I started walking again. And really, I took me about 2 years. I didn't really have aphasia. It was called dysaria, I think is
Okay.
how you pronounce it. Dr. Mike, you can correct me on that. But uh, I couldn't finish a sentence and I constantly was forgetting words. So my wife finished almost all of my sentences for 2 years. And um, luckily, I stayed at it, and with the help of Stuff for Recovery here in North Carolina, I pretty much recovered other than my right arm. My It took probably 3 or 4 years, and my speech got back to normal. I'm not back to. I want to say I'm not back to normal as far as walking. I can walk without a cane, but I'm real nervous still. If I go out in a crowd or something, I walk with a cane.
Yeah, but you know what? You're here, you're alive, you get
Yes.
to enjoy
That's
life, you know.
what's important.
Um,
That's
we
what's
all,
important.
yeah. So before we go back to Joanne's story,
Just want to give you that statistic, the
okay,
one you
go
asked
ahead,
for.
Dr. Mike. Go
Okay,
ahead.
about 17 to 25% do not survive the first 24 hours.
17 or 25%?
17 to 25, they give a range.
25%. Wow,
They
that's a
can't make
quarter of
up
the
the,
people.
they can't make up their minds. 17 to 25.
Oh my gosh. I wanted to ask Michael, and Dr. Mike, you could feed into this because you know there's different types of rehabs and all that kind of stuff. Who found your rehab? How did you find the proper one for you? Because that's something that our audience, you know, when somebody suffers a stroke and you're in that, you know, and finally level off where everything, you know, the person's stable and you have to figure out where the next step. I mean, you have to go to somebody you trust. And how do you find that person? How do you find that? Joanne, you could feed into that too.
I think it's pretty difficult, Renee, but um, I have to profess that my wife found it. She did a lot of research,
Research.
and found the outpatient. I wanted and talk about hospitals, but supposedly I was going to a great rehab center outpatient wise at the hospital, but no comparison to this outside outpatient rehab. I will say with the Believe Stroke Recovery Foundation we vet each of the rehab centers that we utilize in North Carolina. And we basically model our ideal facility after the facility that I attended. So we have great facility in Charlotte and a great facility here in the Raleigh area. And I'll say that Steps for Recovery here in Raleigh is considered the best in the Triangle area. But we go out everywhere, anywhere that somebody new comes up, we won't consider them unless they're neuro. And really, we truly vet them and we feel good about them.
I think, and then I'm going to have Dr. Mike feed in a little bit. I think that it really has to do with the people that are operating it, the person, the rehabilitation person, you know, each person that you connect with, if they really are engaged and care about their
Yes.
jobs, they're going to make a huge difference in your life. And that's why Diane Bromberg, with her senior, organization or company, she does such a great job because she has a crew of people that she knows that which one would be best for who. So she's so dynamic and she really does, you know, vet people like you do, Michael.
Well, when you think about it, you think of a therapist, physical therapist, they may see 8 people a day. And every one of those people may have a different personality type.
Yeah,
and you realize how wonderful they really are.
yeah. They gotta learn each person. Dr. Mike,
Yeah.
do you feed into that? And then Joanne, you can feed into that as well.
Right, but the part of the problem is that depending upon the location of the brain where the stroke occurs and the, how much damage occurs in that area is very different as far as how long it's going to take to get the rehabilitation done. And I think initially, after the first few weeks of rehab, they'll have an idea, about your potential progress. With their, been doing this for a while. And I just found this, that there's a CARF accreditation. That's a accreditation for rehab centers. And that's the Commission of Accreditation of Rehabilitation Facilities, to look for that level of, certification. And also, I think the best thing, just like, the old expression, word of mouth advertising, because if you know somebody that went there and they were very satisfied with it, just like there's so much social media, there's so much misinformation out there now, and there's so many people trying to really, increase their businesses. That's very difficult to determine the quality of a facility or a practitioner, because there's a lot of people that just, use people they know to pump up their
Yes, yes, yes.
recommendations.
With those Google reviews, everybody wants a Google review.
Right. But to, really find people that have a network of people that know people that have gone through it and have had success. And then on the contrary, people that have gone through it and did not like the facility. And the personality is very important, and the positive reinforcement and how much people care. It's not just a business, that is something that is their, the reward that they get isn't necessarily a paycheck, but helping other people. You have to find
Yes.
people that, really truly want to help humanity.
Yeah, and that's what I love about you, Dr. Mike, because that is your focus, is to help humanity and help people find the right kind of, quality of life and to how to get there, so we're
Well,
so
thanks.
lucky to have you a part of our family.
Thanks.
Joanne, so you were in the hospital, you finally got in there. How did you get into the hospital?
Well, I just walked through the front door and
Oh.
everybody was, they were all so busy, nobody was even looking up to see who was coming in the door. They heard the whoosh so many times during their shifts that it's like, okay, one more, I'll finish this and look up. But
Well, normally because somebody that's having a stroke comes in through the ambulance.
well, yeah, that's true. So, but what I did was I just stood there and observed everybody, and then I just at the top of my lungs just said, "I think I'm having a stroke." And the nurse turned around, looked at me, and said, "She walked in here."
Yeah, well, I just said that because
Yeah.
people come in with it, it's radioed. What do you call that? To the triage. Okay, somebody that's having a stroke is coming in, not at the front desk. It's like, nah. So what did they do next?
But what they did was they just put their arms under mine, and at that point I went, I'm here, and I just collapsed, and they
Oh
put
my gosh, that's an amazing story that you held yourself together till you got help, and all of a sudden that's when you you let go. Okay, I'm here. They could do their work.
And the security guard is more interested in watching your car than taking care of you.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know
Unbelievable.
what was difficult about that was it made me think, well, maybe I'm not as sick as I think I am.
Oh,
Because he just walked away and left me standing there. So, but
wow.
I just, and the reason I always like to tell somebody what I did was so nobody else will ever do it.
Yes,
It was
yes.
the most foolish thing that I could have ever done. I mean, I could have just blacked out immediately and caused a terrible accident. Oh,
Yeah, it's yeah. But that's what I think about my stroke, how blessed I was because it happened on the softball fields with a lot of people around. It could have happened. I think my daughter was I happened in April, she was born in, so 7. My daughter was 7 months old. So it could have happened in the car with my young daughter in there. and we don't want to think of what could have happened. So like I was so lucky to have it at the softball field because there was tons of people around. My daughter was taken care of. You know, I was very fortunate in the place that it happened, you know.
Yeah.
So continue on your conversation, your story, Joanne.
Yeah. Well, when you were talking about times and stuff, I spent 10 days in the hospital, 3 months in a rehab center, learning how to do everything over again.
Wow.
And then another 2 years getting my strength back.
Wow.
So
Wow. And it took Michael a long time. How long did it take you? Were you able to walk after you got to the hospital and collapsed and they put you in a bed? Were you able were you able to continue walking? What was your disability at that particular time? Was it speaking only?
no, I was totally bedridden.
Wow.
I couldn't move my arm, my legs, anything. And what they would do in the morning is they'd come in and they'd put my arm on a pillow. So I had my hand that looked like a naked sock puppet, just standing there staring at me. And my job was to try to convince my hand to move. And it took me probably about 4 or 5 days. And what I did was something that I don't think most people would ever even think about. I had been in radio for a number of years when I was younger, and learned back then that your voice has a lot of power, and it depends on how you use it. And so what I decided to do, my mother-in-law had a stroke, and we did little things with her to try to help her along the way. So I kind of was relying on some of the things that we had done with her. And so I didn't try singing, but what I did was I changed the register of my voice. Instead of talking just with the normal street voice, I talked a little bit lower and with a little more authority and just asked it kindly to move. And I do that over and over. And this one afternoon, I'd gotten to the point like you do with kids, where you get that I mean it attitude. Don't cross me anymore. What I'm saying, I mean. And
Right.
I said, I want you to move. And I couldn't move my arm or my hand, but I had one finger, and unfortunately, it's the finger you're not supposed to use. And that's the one that just wiggled just a little bit, and that was all. And so I started screaming for the nurse, and they all came running in at the same time. And I said, watch this. And it took a couple of minutes for me to get it to do again. But it did. It moved, and the nurse looked at me and started laughing. She said, I didn't think I would ever be happy to see anybody give me the finger, but I
That's funny, Joanne.
so
Oh my gosh.
that
So
was the
go
beginning
ahead.
of me coming back.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. So I know Dr. Mike has a really wonderful project coming on, and it really uses AI, and we're going to talk about that in 1 second. But I really wanted to just hear from Michael and Joanna. Michael, you can go first. Is how do your stroke or loved ones? That was for Kathy. How did your stroke positively impact your life? Because when I suffered, when I experienced, I don't like to say suffered, when I experienced my stroke, I really did come to the realization of the value of life, and how lucky I was to still be able to walk and talk, eventually talk. So I really wanted to hear your input into that, so that we could bring some hope to everybody.
I think the biggest thing, I got asked in a podcast about 5 years ago, if you had a choice to go back before your stroke and not have one, or just be as things are today, which one would you choose? And of course, you would think that all of us would choose we go back before the stroke. But that's really interesting with so many stroke survivors. The main thing that really changed my life, besides the deficits from the stroke, obviously, was I learned patience. I really didn't have much patience. I worked all the time. I lived and breathed work. And um, when I first had the stroke, I really struggled with rehab and I just wanted to get this thing fixed. And I finally learned to sit back and enjoy all that life offers. And I accepted that these are deficits and I'm going to continue to work on them. If I have to work on them the rest of my life, I will
Right.
do that. But I'm going to wake up happy every day. And I do. And it's been 9 years since I've had my stroke. But, patience gave me so much in life. I mean, you see life so different when you can see what all is given to you, how beautiful this earth is. Uh, I thank God every day for my wife, the strength that she gave me during the stroke. I thank God for my son and my grandson and being able to watch them grow up. Um, Life is really pretty wonderful. And, if I have any regrets, it would be I didn't realize it before I had the stroke.
But at least you got it now, Michael.
Yes.
At least you understand it. I love the name of your organization, Believe. Why did you come up with that name?
Well, it's a little bit of a long story. um, my wife, I told her, I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I said, I'm stuck in a wheelchair. I got a type A personality, and I'm not good at just sitting still. And she said, you need to pray about it.
Mm.
And that was, gosh, I think about 8, 9 months into the stroke. And I started praying. I said, God, what am I going to do? And I prayed for about a month. And whether it was a vision, a dream, it came to me to open a nonprofit for strokes rehab. And I thought, surely I've been thinking about strokes a lot. That couldn't have been it.
Right,
And
right.
so about 2 weeks later, I had the same dream again. The difference is he gave me the name. He wanted me to name it Believe
Wow.
Recovery Foundation. And I went 3 times. And on the third dream vision, I finally came to the conclusion this is real. And I bargained. I bargained with God. I said, you know, if you will let me get out of this wheelchair and walk by the new year, I'll open that nonprofit for you. And sure enough, I walked completely, which was about a quarter of a mile around the rehab center. I walked all the way around the rehab center and when January came, I told my wife, I said, I've got to keep my end of the bargain, and we opened Believe Stroke Recovery
That's such a
Foundation.
great God story. That's such a great God story because you know, I know we all believe the same way. We all have faith. We all believe, doesn't matter what our God is, but we all
Yeah.
believe and we all have faith is, you know, that you have to have a relationship with God, right? You have
Yes.
to talk to God. And I love the fact that you prayed, and Joanne, I know Dr. Mike does as well. And you know, I give you a quick story and then we'll go to Joanne. The other day, my granddaughter had a major seizure, She has a seizure condition. And we were on our way back from my grandson's baseball tournament. So they were in front of, not literally in front of me, but they left before me. So I get a FaceTime from my grandson, and I answer it while I'm driving. And he says, Mimi, you have to come. You have to come. And I said, what's going on? She goes, Miss Brooklyn had a seizure. Miss Brooklyn had a seizure. It was really not over a 9-minute seizure. So it was a bad seizure. So I said, where are you? He goes, Belleville. I look up, I'm right by the Belleville exit. So I said, okay, I get off, and I say, where are you? And I hear my son-in-law in the background say, by McDonald's, by 7-Eleven, I think it was. I said, okay. So I pull over and I'm putting my GPS, Belleville 7-Eleven, and there could have been 20. And so I looked to my left-hand side, and there was a police station there. I said, I'm not playing this game. I'm going to go ask them what's going on, and where, you know, because they had to hear about it, because it was called 911. The ambulance was on his way. I get out of my car, and I say to the officer, can you help me? Nope, I'm on a call. I said, a seizure? He said, yes. I said, can I follow you? They said, yes. They 90 miles an hour. I followed that police car to my granddaughter's ambulance without missing a beat. And the only person that could help me with that was God. That's the only way that I could have got to them within 5 minutes of my phone call, you know. So I absolutely love your story, Michael, about, you know, believing.
That deserves a amen.
Yes, amen, amen, because it's tough, but you know, you have to, and the other thing I want to share with everybody, and then we'll get to Joanne and then to Dr. Mike about his project, is that you have to find the little winks from God. You have to enjoy the moment. You have to, because life is difficult. There's gonna be difficulties in your life, but when you get that one moment, that one piece of joy, that one hope, just linger on it, revel in it, because more will come to you with that reveling in that joy. So Joanne, sorry to keep chatting, Joanne and Michael. Dr. Mike, go ahead. You could share your joy, and then we want Dr. Mike to get his project in, because he has to leave at 11 and we're only on to 11. So go ahead, Joanne. How did your stroke positively impact your life?
Well, I really enjoyed hearing what Michael had to say, because so much of what I did and how I felt followed along the same way. However, I do meet a lot of stroke survivors who have a difficult time saying goodbye to some of the things that they had or were able to do. They have the mindset that, all right, if I'm in here now and you've got me doing rehab, you ought to be able to fix this so I can be who I was before. And until you come to the mindset of realizing you're never going to be that same person again, not totally, not ever. And now, after so much time, I can say, I don't want to be. And Michael, I had the same experience that you were. By allowing myself to be quiet and to look and to absorb everything that was around me. And one of the biggest things that I did was to just surround me with myself with the love that I had received from strangers, family, friends. They gave so lovingly and so willingly anything that I wanted or needed. And, through the years, I always thought that it was a two-way street. You give and you take. And it makes for a happy relationship. But when I saw how willing they were to give, even if it hurt for them, for what they had chosen to do for the day, it really humbled me and made me realize that the most important thing, at least in my experience, is to be with family or people. And if they say they need something from you, that's where you're going to be.
Mm,
And
that's
it's
so good.
made my life so much richer.
Mm,
I
Yeah.
think one of the things that I feel is I won't participate in your drama. If what you do is you set yourself up and you manipulate to get your own way, first off, you're not allowing God to do his job. And you're going to miss some of the things that he would bring into it that's going to make it richer and fuller and make you more grateful. So just be there, and smiles, even if they're crooked, go a long way.
wow, that's incredible. That's incredible.
Yes.
So thank you to both of you for sharing that. I mean, I really wanted people to hear the positivity and the fact that you both wouldn't choose your lives before your stroke because it made you who you are today. And the fact is that we all keep evolving and changing, whether it's a stroke, whether it's a marriage, whether it's no matter what, we all keep evolving and changing and growing. So, I actually wouldn't change my story either. I am who I am because I experienced a stroke. And when I had my stroke, I said I had an out of body experience, spoke to God, saw the light, and I told him, he said to me, I don't want to take you. And I said, I don't want to go. I asked him not to take me, and he says, I don't want to take you. You just have to always remember you work for me. Okay, so when things start going in that aren't in alignment with where he wants and I gotta go, then I know things start getting out of sync for me. So I go, okay, what am I doing wrong? What do you want me to do? So yes, so it's good. So Dr. Mike was telling us, Dr. Mike, what's it called? Project 70
That's it. No, Human 7.0 is called.
Human 7.0 project. And Dr. Mike, like I said initially, I love his advancement and his out of the box thinking, and I'm going to let him share what that is. And if you could just share some of the items you had on that list you sent me. But he actually shared that this has to do AI. And like I want to share with everybody, AI can be a very strong positive thing. AI can be a very strong negative thing. Same thing with the telephones, same things with social media. You just have to handle things correctly. So Dr. Mike, take it away and share with us a little bit about that.
Okay, before I do that though, I just want to mention what Michael was saying before, which is very important for everybody to understand, that in life, don't wait till something bad happens to you before you start appreciating the good.
Yes.
Because if you look at our lives, we have running water, we have sanitation, we have food on the table, we have air conditioning, which was a luxury and still is in many parts of the world, transportation. There's so many positive things we have in our lives that when people start getting depressed and down about something that's not happening, that's bad, look at all the good you have and look at all the people that are around you that care about you. So don't wait until something bad happens before you look for the good. Okay, so Humans 7.0 is called 7.0 because Humans 1.0 were the hunters and gatherers. And that happened until about 12,500 years ago. We had the dawn of agriculture. And then went through all different stages of the Industrial Revolution. And basically right now we're up to 6.0. We're living in 6.0, which is not a good thing because you look at the way we've abused the environment. You look at the lack of nutrition in foods. You look at all the toxins we're exposed to that we're really going down the wrong path. And we really have to turn this around before, we destroy the earth and we destroy humanity. And the two greatest gifts, and and Renee knows this, I've said this many times, the two greatest gifts God gave us are the human body and the planet Earth. And we have to respect and be better stewards of those gifts. So what Human 7.0 is the future. Now we determined, and it's almost like a military operation, because the only reason we're not at full health potential is a combination of excesses and deficiencies. And our job is to find the excesses and reduce them, find the deficiencies, increase them, allow the body's innate intelligence that was given to us by God to make us healthy, allow us to create a balance of health. Now, there's basically about 500 different physiological pathways in the human body, and we've used over $1 trillion worth of research. Every nutrition study, every pharmaceutical study has been done since the beginning of science is in our database. And this is something that you take, 1,000 PhDs, 1,000 years, and probably never even accomplish this. And the joke I came up with a while ago is, how many PhDs work for us? And the answer is all of them, living and dead, because we have all the data. And we determined there's 500 physiological pathways. For example, photosynthesis in plants is a physiological pathway. With there's 500 in the human body, they're all interconnected with each other. And there's 68 essential inputs into those engines, 500 engines, that need to be put into the human body to make them run properly. And if you're lacking any one of those, eventually it's going to lead to dysfunction and disease. And the four biggest deficiencies we have now in the human body today, we have magnesium, we have potassium, omega-3 fats, and vitamin D. And basically over 99% of the population is deficient in at least one of those four. And if you talk about 68, hardly anybody's getting it all. I mean, we really can't get it from food, because if you take a head of romaine lettuce, the selenium in the romaine lettuce from 100 years ago, you need to eat 20 of them, 20 heads of lettuce, to get the same nutrition as one did back then.
Wow.
So
Because theirs was grown naturally. Am I
right,
correct?
right, and the soil has been depleted. And there's a lot of people now that are getting into the more, the farmers that are more in tune with the earth, getting into crop rotation, which they used to do years ago. And if you look at the innate intelligence, you look at the history of humanity, and we look at ancient people with a smug expression on their faces, the people that are like conceited and think they know everything. But you look at the pyramids, you look at the embalming methods, you look at all these different things that were done by so-called primitive humans, and we can't even do that today. So we have to look at the history of humanity and where we've gone wrong. And you look at all the indigenous tribes around the world, and they all had well-balanced nutrition, and whether it's up in Alaska or in the Amazon. And we have to look at what they were doing and try to find the path back to health. And if you look at the number of kids today that are of draft age, even though we don't have a draft right now, and hopefully we won't have to have a draft, but 77% of these young men and women are not physically capable of passing the physical to get into the military. You look at the number of childhood diseases today. And when I was a kid, when you were a kid, you didn't have chronic health conditions. Now, well over 2/3 of the kids have a chronic health condition. And it's only getting worse with the ultra processed foods. So it's not just if you took our supplements, and basically we're not on the market yet, and we probably won't be for another year or two, but we have one of the top patent attorneys in the country working with us on it. And we have 5 patents pending for this. And it's going to retail for, when it does launch eventually, for about $200 a month. And you'll be able to get 3 times a week. You'll have a drink in the morning, pills at lunch, a drink in the afternoon, pills at dinner, a drink before you go to bed at night. Actually, it's going to be every 28 days, because it's 3 times a week and
Right.
five times a day. People say, well, that's a lot of work. it's like, so is brushing your teeth and flossing it, but,
Yeah,
and by the way, that's something that's very, very, very important to prevent strokes is oral care.
yeah.
Because, and also with heart attacks in the
Was
cardiovascular
it you
system.
that always said that? I think we had somebody else on the show as well that used to say that I think it must have been, it was you and somebody else that
Yeah.
always said that you have to brush your teeth and floss it or yes, and go to the dentist if you have a cavity, all that kind of stuff.
And look, when we were kids, we didn't even have dental floss when we
Yeah,
were kids. I mean, it was around, but people didn't used to use it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's very, very important. But there are a lot of really important points, and this is a show for another day because we're running out of time. Different points as far as what to do in general for your health, and also how to prevent strokes from occurring, and what to do if you're a stroke survivor. I'm glad that that was not a stroke victim. That's the way to look at it. You're a survivor.
yeah,
Because we have to look at everything in a positive aspect,
yeah,
not a negative aspect, and be thankful for what we have.
yeah,
And I know that Dr. Ted Koren, he's a very good friend of mine, but he said in Hebrew there's no word for coincidence because everything is played out by the will of God.
mm,
And
mm,
uh, you know, sometimes we say, why are we doing this? Why has this happened? But there's a reason for everything. And sometimes we don't know what the reason is.
yeah, yeah. Reach out to Dr. Ted Korn. We'd love to revisit with him on the show if he has a chance.
I will. And he's been going to Israel and doing a lot of, because with Koren specific technique, that's what he developed.
Yes,
And,
yes,
and he had a very large a piece of furniture fall on his head and he became disabled. He developed out of necessity. And necessity is the mother of invention, as they say.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
he developed all of that. But
yeah.
anyway, that's another show.
Well, I'm glad that you're interested because this is going to be around, you said like 5 years before it comes on the market.
Hopefully not. Hopefully within a year. Hopefully.
Yeah, I'm sorry, within a year. So let's do a whole show on breaking down the information that you have, Dr. Mike, because it's very interesting to me, and I'd like to hear more about how he did his research and how he came about this thought pattern.
Well,
So,
his name John Krunick.
John,
He's the guy that invented the Pro Adjuster, and I become
what's
friends.
the Pro Adjuster? What's that?
I use that on you when it's a computer that adjusts the spine.
Oh, yes, 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 yes,
in
yes.
your office.
Which is incredible when I go in and you're like checking me out. Yes.
Right. And he developed that and he sold that company and he's a computer expert and he's a real geek. And he developed this and he asked me to partner with him with it because he knew that I understood what he was talking about. And I was one of the only doctors who understood actually how that machine worked as Pro Adjuster, because my background is I used to be a physics teacher and a science teacher. Before as a chiropractor, I have a master's degree in environmental health and also a martial arts instructor. I've worked with federal agencies and police defensive tactics. So
Yes.
it's not, I can't hold the job down. That's my problem.
Well, because I know why, because you kind of like, okay, you get into a position and you learn everything you got to learn. And then it's time to move on to grow and to learn more things. That's why you're so educated and you have so much information in your brain. Like, and we can hold 20-hour show and and I could just like, so we could just keep talking. It's fine. It's 10:59. I know Dr. Mike has to leave it, but I want to give everybody the opportunity for the last words. But Dr. Mike, do you have any more information that you wanted to share about that 7.0? And we'll continue that conversation. But did you have anything else today that you wanted to make sure that you touched on?
Well, I just want to say that what I said before, that nothing happens by coincidence. And the people that I've been in contact with in my life, some of the top and smartest people on the planet, in my opinion, I've been in contact with and have crossed paths with me. And nothing happens by accident. As a matter of fact, my friend Tom Patiri was on my show that I had, the Super Mike show, which I had.
Yes.
That he, was, I didn't even know about this until after Charlie Kirk passed away. He was very good friends with Charlie Kirk. And
Wow.
then he met him before Charlie became famous.
Wow.
And he actually attended one of Tom's seminars. So it's like, nothing like this happens by coincidence.
Serendipity.
Absolutely.
Serendipity. That's awesome. That's
Okay.
awesome. So we never say goodbye. We're going to continue this conversation and we'll keep bringing everybody into the loop. But I want to give Michael and Joanne, and of course you, Dr. Mike, the final, because sometimes when you're doing a show, you want to make sure you end it with a positive and you want to get your last kind words out. So Joanne, what is your last thought patterns for today?
I think I would just say when you wake up in the morning, because you do have a choice. You can either wake up and be snarly all day and get things done, but not feel good about yourself, and other people around you aren't going to feel good about themselves either. So when you get up in the morning, make the choice to be happy, make the choice to look at people around you and ask yourself if there's something small or big or whatever they need, and you need too, to be able to give to them. Um, when this first all started, you have to work through all of the progression and all of the stages that come with it. Don't be afraid of them. Just know that it's something that's temporary, and get yourself to a point where you love yourself at the end. And you'll find that there are things that you'll be able to do that you never thought you'd ever be able to do.
Wow, that's great words, Joanne. Dr. Mike, I'm going to let you go next, and then you can
Okay,
fly you
thanks.
off, and then I'm going to,
Thanks.
Michael, and end it.
Well, when I had that show, they used to ask me to come up with quotes. I came up with something which I really liked. Of course, I like all my stuff.
Yeah, well,
That's
that's
besides the point.
good. That's
But
why you're successful.
each and every one of us has been given at least one special gift by God that we excel above and beyond the norm. The problems are some of us have not opened that gift package yet, and others never will. So my point is that what you must do is you have to look and see where that gift is. And some people have been given more than one gift. But the so-called smartest person in the world can learn at least one thing from the so-called stupidest person in the world. And there's nobody that's stupid.
Good. That's wonderful. You should write that down and have a quote.
I'll actually send you all my quotes. I have them all.
Yeah, send them to me. Send them to
Okay.
me. So I
Okay.
could use them, on the bottom of our information, by you. So that's a great quote. That's a great quote. Thank you, Dr. Mike. I know
Thank
you have
you.
to fly you off.
Hey, take
Joanne
care.
and Michael, just hang on one second. And Michael, I just want to give you, and before I just want to say, like, serendipity, it's so in serendipity that we're all here today. We all, and everybody says to me, oh, Michael couldn't come, Ralph couldn't come, and Kathy couldn't come. Listen, we do our work, we invite everybody on the show, and sometimes life gets in the way, right? So all of us who are meant to be here together are together. So I am not one to, worry about what doesn't happen. I just go with what has occurred. So Michael, go ahead, give us your last thoughts on the show. And thank you for joining us today, Joanne and Michael, and Dr. Mike, of course.
I think that Joanne put it into perspective as well as I ever could. So I'll just say, believe.
Yeah.
And what do? Give you a kiss?
Yes, we all blow kisses. In 1 second, we always blow kisses. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. It really was a wonderful show, really good conversation. And that's what we like to do on this show. We just want to kind of prepare our thought patterns, and then we come on, and what's meant to come across and what meant to be heard and shared is really what comes out of us. So thank you so much for joining us today. On 3, we always blow our kisses. 1, 2, 3. Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye-bye.